Welcome to the Seesaw Scenario with the Eric and Mark Show. Eric and Mark's Playground Rules expert table is once again graced with the presence of playground expert Sean. This scenario is a continuation of a theme we have been attempting to unveil. I can almost hear the words of my fellow playground expert Mark saying, "We already talked about this." But I assure you, my dear brother, this is a nuance to previous scenarios, so please bear with me. We've talked about this from the angle of stay in your lane, and also from the angle of maybe the sales pitch needs refining. But the nuance to today's scenario is maybe it is because the truth hurts no matter how it is presented, and thus becomes a barrier in communication for others when they decide on whether or not to hear us out. Here's where the issue starts. There are those of us who have been blessed with the ability to see gaps in functionality from sports teams, dynamics, to faith, to relationships. Some of us have the knack of being able to process scenarios all the way to solution status almost immediately. The issue seems to be that nobody likes accepting the truth that makes them feel or look bad. When somebody fears either of those two things, they won't even take a second to see the benefits of them that the truth our observation holds and has to offer. When in the realm of unsolicited input, how have you in your life proposed insight to somebody in a way where you were able to circumvent the other person feeling or looking bad, and they allowed your proposal to see the light of day? How say you, Sean and Mark?
So Eric, this is admittedly a difficult one to answer. I think that you have to go back to, again, what we talked about in the previous podcast about timing, delivery, approach, and also consider the source that is coming from. So, for example, let's say that somebody who we care about has put on a large amount of weight, and we're concerned about that person, right? Now, there's a few different approaches to express that to that person, you know. We could say something like, okay, well, you need something more along the lines of, let's say, hey, I'm thinking of getting a gym membership. I could really use an exercise partner, and you and I could probably both use the workout. We could both use it. Would you agree with that? I think that kind of like is somewhat of a gentle delivery that still gets the message across that you're concerned about somebody's health and you like to collaborate with them, and you'd at least admitting that you have some work to do on yourself. That's something that can work. If this is coming from somebody, let's say, who's been cutting somebody down about their appearance, like let's say, like a mother to a daughter or something, and this has been going on for a long time, then the daughter will probably have a really defensive response saying, well, yeah, here you go attacking me again or whatever. But if that came from a friend who always supports her in general and said, again, I need something like that, or I'd like to have somebody to work out with, then that could actually fly over much better, especially if it's in private. To your point about making somebody look bad. You don't want to make that person look bad. Nobody wants to look bad, and nobody wants to feel bad. Sometimes we have to face harsh truths and we do feel bad or even look bad. I think that when it comes to the playgrounds, a lot of times when you have a situation which is not merit-based, somebody who's an executive because of personality instead of character, or maybe because of nepotism, then use somebody in the organization, friends or family or whatever, then the matter has to be treated especially delicately because they may not have managerial qualifications in order to be in that role, and then they may not handle certain things very well, not very objectively. They may have like a knee-jerk or emotional reaction to something. At that point, again, timing, delivery, approach, and then you could give them most of the truth, but kind of pad it with something a little bit more neutral. You wouldn't say something like, oh, our company's doing horrible, or we're going down the tube. Say, hey, this last quarter we didn't do as well as we could have. We're looking ahead to next quarter, looking to see how we can improve. Same thing with the coach. Say, hey, the team had a pretty good showing this year. Instead of saying they choked in the playoffs or something, you say, the playoffs probably wasn't as good as what most of us wanted, but there's a great deal of room to grow and hope for the future. So I think that, again, those things sound like they're slightly sugar-coated, but I think given the society that we live in, the heightened tensions and that kind of thing, kind of the state of the world right now, the sensitivities, I think that that's probably the way to go. That's what works the best when you give somebody, let's say, 80% of the truth and then pad it with something which is not, let's say, not as offensive as 100% would be.
Hey, Eric, I love that scenario that you provided, and I know it's an extension of what we've discussed earlier. Mark, I liked your response to around the exercise partner for a gym membership. I was actually laughing to myself because recently Eric was asking me if I could join him at the gym, and he hasn't seen me as much. So anyway, getting back to the topic, how do we share feedback or unsolicited feedback without making the truth hurt? Here's my take, right? I think always it's good to ask permission, especially if you're giving some feedback. You can say, especially if it's a coach, hey coach, you coached a great game or a tough game today. Do you mind I share some observations that could really help us more or help our teams be more? The other thing is being constructive. Also, the timing is important. Sometimes after the game, the coaches are stressed or they're rushing to get somewhere. That's not often the best time. Also, in a public setting, like you mentioned, Mark, it's always good to catch them when they're alone, one-on-one. What I've seen is using the right words, right? Like you can say, I really appreciate the effort you've put into the team. I have this idea. I think it can help us bring more success to the team. So it's always framing things in a different way, that we are all interested in the collective success of the team. Or can I offer you a quick thought on a move or on a tactic that I came up with? It may help improve what you've already worked on, or it may build on already what's working well with the team. So something like that, wherein we are offering to build more on the success that they've already built, rather than bringing them down, or like we said earlier, them looking at this as something that's negative, or looking at this something that they're falling short. We are just telling them we are only here to improve what's already they have worked on, because not everybody is perfect, not everybody is looking at all aspects. So if you've focused on 4 or 5 aspects that's brought the team so far, there are 2 or 3 aspects that I come in as an outsider that you may not have seen, or you may have overlooked, and I'm helping you build that area based on my expertise. So that way we are showing that as a team or as a village, we are helping this team grow to the next level. Hopefully this was useful. Again, thank you, Eric and Mark. I love these conversations, how we all chime in and provide a different perspective to the same scenario.